one of the things that we see, and you know this about violence and the threat of violence, and in the kind of experiences that we've had, that the idea that violence is that legitimate violence is just on one side is already a highly destabilizing way to think about things. Nobody wants to see that violence escalate, but as long as the threat continues to be there on one side, it almost ensures that it's going to happen, which is why there is a major failure on the part of opposition leadership to really have any kind of meaningful pushback against this administration. To sort of point again to, you continue to point to these permitted channels. You don't stop it by yelling at it. You don't persuade it to stop. It doesn't stop until you put something in front of it, until you step in front of it, until you roll it back. It is that kind of dynamic that you have to understand is realistic. And what we see is that there are historical parallels for that. It is when the 1850s that people saw the abuse of authority of the federal government being used to enforce the enslaver power, and they decided that, you know what, we can't do this. There's already being violence every single day against the 4 million people in chains. But the problem is, and this is what Thoreau pointed out, the problem is that comfortable people in the middle were having that conversation. Is that, wait a second, when is that authority going to reach me, safe and sound in upstate New York or in Western Massachusetts or wherever? And they're having that conversation, not realizing that violence is already there. They're already playing a role in it by not stopping it. They're just enabling it to continue. And so the more pushback that there is, then the more abuse of authority has to stop, has to take notice, has to count the cost for themselves. That might in fact slow it down to enable a better, more organized opposition to emerge.